Hello there, Vlad here. Welcome to CatPick Fridays, Season 2, Episode 2. I think this is 24th episode, unless I'm messing up the episode count, something like that. By the way, that episode count I don't think includes the summer episodes, so who knows? Season 2, Episode 2. That's how it goes. Rich is here again, as always.
Yay.
Hello. What's
Every
up?
week.
Every week.
I'm good. It's been a busy week. You know, when you come back from holiday and then try to work and have to get up, it's kind of hard. But, you know.
Especially
Otherwise,
the
all
getting
good.
up
What about
part,
you?
I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm doing good, thanks. Yeah, the getting up part, it's been getting way better this week because this is my second week, so it's getting better. I actually started taking what's it called, melatonin? Is that how it's in English?
Melatonin, yeah. To help you sleep.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't like put me to sleep in that sense, but I have slept better. Like a couple of nights or like a couple of mornings, I woke up like feeling like fresh and hitting the microphone and stuff like that. I don't sleep with a microphone next to me. That would be weird. But I just hit the microphone, as you may have heard. But yeah, that has helped. And this week has actually been like fairly effective. Last week was like, I'll wake up at 7 a.m. Then I'm eating breakfast at like 9:30. Yeah, but that was the reality.
Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, I always find it hard to come back from holiday, and also working at home is much more difficult because it's like you don't have to go anywhere for a certain time. So you find yourself on the couch watching, YouTube or whatever, and suddenly it's 10 o'clock and you're like, I got a meeting right now or whatever. That did not happen this morning, by the way, just so you know. I was very efficient this morning. I'd already been doing a little bit of work before we got on this call, so that's good. And just about melatonin, by the way, that's something that in Germany and in the UK as well is only quite recently sort of legal to take. It was not sold by pharmacies for quite a long time. And I remember that you could buy it in America always. And so there would always be people here at home who would say to the people who were going to the NAMM show, can you buy me some melatonin, please, and bring it back? So people would be bringing back loads of this help you sleep spray for people to take. It was really cool. But now everyone can buy melatonin. So I've got to try some.
We can buy those in a grocery store. Like Finland is very controlled when it comes to any drugs. But that thing you can buy from like a grocery store. Without the recipe or anything. Weird. It's like
weird. It's a relatively recent thing here, as far as I understand.
Interesting.
Perhaps I've been
lied
like
to. It's like a
Perhaps
natural
people
product.
were just telling me, like, can you go to America and buy me melatonin? Because I can't be bothered to go to the local store. You fly halfway around the world for 2 weeks and bring me back a nice big packet of the American stuff. Maybe the American stuff is stronger. I don't know. But anyway, we're digressing.
Really weird.
And this show is not sponsored by melatonin.
No, is that a brand? I think that's just the name of the drug. But yeah, that has helped. And
Also, I think if you had a podcast where the slogan was, this podcast will put you to sleep with melatonin, I think that's probably not the best advertisement for a talk show, is it?
Yeah, I think like even if you remove the word melatonin from the end of the sentence, this podcast will put you to sleep. I guess. I mean, it would probably get like average listening time because people would fall asleep around the like 10-minute mark and then just keep listening while they sleep.
Oh, that would be great.
We don't
fall
mind.
Asleep and just listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, just place all the important ads and everything at the very beginning, and then you're like, maybe that's our career. Guitar
That's a good idea.
Put you to
Season
sleep
3.
or something like that. So there's that. What else? I wanted to say something, but I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, I got a bunch of stuff this week. And before we jump into, which is, I guess, technically news, maybe news. Let's jump to recent happenings and talk about some new gear that arrived just very, very recently. Let's see if I can run this thing properly. Oh look, it actually worked. Yeah, as I mentioned, bunch of fun new stuff here. Oh, let's try this one so you can still see Rich. First thing I got was earlier this week. Today's Thursday when we're recording. So yeah, I got myself a reamping box. Like I've been using some other products or just running like a line out cable from my audio interface into my pedals to do that before. But only like recently I realized that, okay, maybe this isn't actually working that well. I was getting a lot of noise issues. And basically, when you run a line out, the impedance is very different than what's coming out of the guitar, and it just affects the tone quite a bit. So I got myself a Radial Reamp Pro Reamp Studio Reamp box. This is a passive box, and yeah, it doesn't need a power supply, anything like that. Very simple. There's an input, like an XLR input. There's a ground lift switch on the other side, and on the other side there's just the output, and then there's a volume control, like output level control as well. And I'm working on a cover that should be out very soon, or might be out by the time this episode airs, or like a day, two before or after this episode airs. And yeah, so far so good. Really impressed with this thing. Cost me, I think, 110 euros. So a little bit of money for a product that seems very boring, but this is going to make my life much, much easier. Feels super solid, by the way, and made in Canada. So
yeah, Radial is one of the industry standards, isn't it, for reamping boxes? Actually, the first person I saw using it was our mutual friend Jack Fliegler from Toxic Eternity, because yeah, when you guys came over to Hughes and Kettner, when I was still working there to do the SpiritCon videos, Jack brought his Radial reamping box to reamp his sounds because he thought it would be necessary, and in the end it wasn't necessary whatsoever. But that was my first time seeing one getting used in a studio context, and it's like you say, they're not the most glamorous tool. You could easily spend 100 euros on many thousands of different overdrive pedals instead. But especially if you're into production, if you've got a studio, if you've got guitar tones that you're not happy with, the option to use a reamping pedal, it's very, very useful indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's like learning how to reamp has been the key of making my videos more complex and like contain more music without like crazily increasing the like workload. I can reuse the same track again and put them through different drive pedals, stuff like that. And that like create comparisons where like the guitar take stays exactly the same, and then I can run it through 5 different overdrives or delays or whatever I want to do. And I think that's just a killer way to try them out. Makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, boring but very useful purchase. I'm gonna say.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is in no way sponsored by Radial, Radial, by the way, because I have no like association with them. Just went to a store and they had this one, and I knew it's going to be good. So, but there is also some sponsored stuff because where's the button? There it is. Nuix sent me these babies.
Ooh.
This is more sponsored content, I guess. I'm trying to put those on camera. So the 2 things they sent was the Nuix Ace of Tone dual overdrive and the Nuix Fireman distortion pedal. Both are these kind of dual overdrives / distortion pedals. The Ace of Tone goes for like this. I think there's something on their website that kind of refers to me that one side is maybe like a JHS Morning Glory or something like that. It's kind of clone-ish type of sound, and the other one might be, I'm not sure, it might be like a TS type thing or maybe something else that I'm forgetting right now. But they're basically 2 like kind of low gain, mid gain overdrives in this one, and there's a switch on the back where you can run it at 9 volts or 18 volts, which is really cool. So like at 18 volts you would have more headroom. There's an input output, there's an external switch, so you can switch this remotely if you want to. And yeah, this kind of, this was like a fat / shine switch. I'm not 100% sure what it does yet.
Switch.
Yeah. So
that sounds really interesting. The name Ace of Tone to me suggests that this is a King of Tone clone.
That's true.
I'm just heading over to the NUX website right now to take a look. So yeah, classic dual overdrive in a, what size enclosure would you call that? It's similar to like the smaller Strymons, isn't it? Like the Strymon Dig sort of a size.
It's very similar to that size-wise. So like 1.5 regular overdrives. I'd say.
If you look at the NUX website, you can see they've showed us exactly what they're going for. On the one side, you can see there's a picture of the Ace of Tone, and behind it, on each side, you can see two pedals which are kind of blurred out, and one of them is the Marshall Blues Breaker. So yeah, the JHS Morning Glory, and the other one is an old school Ibanez Tube Screamer, a TS9. So that's what it is. It's a Blues Breaker and a Tube Screamer in one box, which is a pretty awesome combination, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely. So there's that, and haven't plugged this in yet. Excited to hear how it sounds. These Vertigo series pedals from NUX feel very solid. Like, I think my first product they sent to me was the Solid Studio. So like this dual sized, like this sized pedal with amp simulation and stuff like that. And that thing felt really solid. This, like, all the foot switches and stuff like that feel really good. Like, this feels like a high quality product, and it retails at like, I don't know, 100 and something.
That's cool. What it reminds me the most of is the JHS double barrel, which is
that's true.
Basically the JHS Morning Glory and the JHS whatever the JHS Tube Screamer pedal is called. So,
there's so many versions that I don't know.
Yeah, I can't
there's
remember.
There's a
Tube
Screamer, but I think
Moonshine?
That's might be. No?
Or something? I'm not sure, but anyway, it's
I think it's jam pedals, not JHS.
Yeah. But what I like about this NUX as well is, you've got the two overdrives, you've got a level, a tone, and a drive control for each. But I really like the fact that they've also got a routing toggle switch. So I guess you can choose which one comes first in the chain. So you can run the Tube Screamer into the Blues Breaker, or the Blues Breaker into the Tube Screamer. So I think that's really cool. It gives you an extra level of versatility. Looks like a fun pedal. I would like to know how much it costs.
I think it's
any ideas on pricing?
140 euros maybe. I think
140 or just 40?
140. There's also, like, for true purists, there's a switch on the back that allows you to toggle between buffered bypass and true bypass. So if you want your true tone, you can have that.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting. I'd like to try that too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to plug it in over the next some days and give it a try. So
exciting times.
Yeah, the next one is the NUX Fireman, and well, they're not actually like subtle about it. It's when you go to the website, you can see it's like a Friedman amplifier.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website right now.
Yeah, my guess is that they go for the BEOD drive.
The deluxe version, exactly, with two sides. And if you look at the NUX website, there is literally an amplifier which looks suspiciously like a Friedman, but it's called the Fireman HPE. So it's great. I like it a lot.
Yeah, so there's that. And this again retails for 100 and something euros, so not that expensive.
Yeah, not too bad at all. And they call it a dual channel brown sound in a box. So it's doing exactly that kind of thing. This is probably exactly like the Friedman BE Overdrive Deluxe. So you've got just two channels of the same drive, independent gain controls, I assume, independent EQs, independent volumes, and that's about it. Yep.
Nice and simple. And again, there's a 9-volt and 18-volt versions, true bypass, buffered bypass, stuff like that. So that's cool. And again, feels very solid. And actually, like, there's something. There's a video I'll be working on, or like a song I'll start working on fairly soon, where I actually like kind of might want to have this sound. So well timed, NUX, well timed.
Are these brand new pedals?
I think they are. Again, like, there's a huge shortage of like chips and stuff like that all over the world, and I think that's why like these things haven't hit the store at the volume they should, or could. So yeah, there's few demos out, but like it was pretty difficult to find either of these at any store right now.
Yeah, I was going to say I've never seen them. I've never even heard of them. I've never seen them mentioned on any of the websites or anything like that. So that's why I'm assuming that they're brand new. But yeah, very excited to hear what you come up with and to see those videos. So, you know, chop chop, get making them, please. We're all excited to see what sounds you're going to make.
Yeah. Actually, like next week, well, I tease what I have planned for next week is a video that you're going to love because, okay, teaser for everyone who is watching / listening to the show. Next week's video, besides CatPick Fridays, will be my top 3 budget overdrives that actually work well in the studio. That's probably not the whole title, but I got a few on my board that I actually used all the time. And they are all under, I think, $60.
I know one of them off the top of my head. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil it.
I'm going to say you know all 3 of them, but...
Yeah, I probably do.
It's a good
seeing
title.
As we discussed our favorite pedals many times before on the show. So,
yeah. Yeah, you got to get the clicks. So that's the title. But all the like, if you're a long-time viewer, you might know all of these pedals, but yep. Bunch of free amping going to happen next week again, so that's actually like very cool because I can use exactly the same guitar take and just run it through 3 different pedals and see how they sound. Should be fun. But let's move on. There's actually a little bit of gear news happening. I feel like when we did the summer wrap up, we kind of lost a lot of not much has happened since. But one thing we missed last week was Fender Tonemaster Super Reverb. Let's have it here on the screen as well.
And that was a big thing to miss because it's a huge amplifier. It's a 4x10.
Literally and figuratively as well. Yeah, first of all, if you don't know what the Fender Tonemaster range is, it's basically it looks like a Fender amp, but it has like digital things inside. It doesn't have tubes. No, it doesn't have tubes at all. It's like Fender has modeled their own amps, basically. The idea is to create an amp that looks like a real Fender in every sense, but it's lightweight, has some cool digital wizardry as well in it, and apparently the response for these has been great. And I think this is the 3rd amp in the range. So there's was Deluxe Reverb that I put out first, and then there's a Twin,
yeah,
and now
exactly,
there's a Super Reverb, which is a freaking 4x10 combo. But because it's a digital one, it only weighs 16.33 kilos, which is something in pounds. But 16 is very manageable for a big combo like that.
Absolutely. And it's a solid pine enclosure as well. So when you consider that with all the speakers in it as well, it's a very, very nice thing to be carrying from your car into the gig in one hand, pretty much.
Yeah.
The thing that I've been seeing a lot on the forums that I read about these amps, people are very divided on them, and some people absolutely love them and some people don't. And that's kind of normal, but these really seem to be divisive. And the one thing that lots of detractors seem to be saying is that these Tonemaster amps, they're like a modeling amp, but they only have one model.
Yeah.
You know? And I kind of understand that, yes, but I don't think these are aimed at people who want, a Quad Cortex or a Kemper or something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're aimed at people who want to have a genuine Fender amplifier. They know and love the old Volve tube amps of yore. They want to have them. They want to have those sounds. They want to have those experiences, but they don't want to have the ear-splitting, neighbor-angering volume levels. They don't want to have amps that weigh 30, 40 kilograms, and they want also the option to be able to play it at a low level and plug it into their computer as well to record. They want a Fender amp in 21st century stylings, and for me that's exactly what these are. And I will say that I haven't played any of them yet, but I also can't wait to try them out, especially this one, because 4x10 amps are quite rare anyway, and this one is probably going to have a massive girthy sound to it. And yeah, exciting.
Yeah,
Well done, Fender, for doing it.
Yeah, like this is one of the few like digital amp things where I'm like really on board, as like from the idea standpoint already. Though like based on the few videos I've seen, there's been a few things that like they like some of the drive pedals, I think with the deluxe reverb they put out first, like didn't sound good. There was like something going on with the modeling where it wasn't that good. But apparently, like I think I saw Phil McKnight's video like after like the first big update to one of those amps, and it just got way better after that. And that's the cool thing. Like they might not get everything right the first time, but you can update the amp because it has like digital brain in there. So that's cool. And also, I think like 4x12 by 10 is incredibly unpractical. It must sound like amazing because it's such a huge amp, but yeah, as you mentioned, like carrying that around ain't gonna happen, not with my back at least, because that thing would probably be like 40-50 kilos easily, and this is 16 kilos, and you can actually dial it to 0.5 watts if you want to. So
yeah, exactly.
And run an XLR from it as well with caps in.
Yeah, so it's perfect for home use, for studio use. And I've also heard people saying that they've played it alongside originals, alongside tube amps as well. And this is a range of amps that sounds and also feels like you're playing the real thing. And those are obviously Fender fans who are saying that. And I haven't tried it myself. Sure. But again, if they can manage that, if they can pull it off, and if you get that genuine direct feel of playing an amp in a room, then it's going to be a winner. What do you think about the price? This one is £1,300, I think, in the article. So that's about 1,500 euros, maybe.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, to be honest, because I mean, we're still talking about a digital amp, but then again, 4x10 means that like 4 speakers just add to the price quite a bit already. Yeah, and I don't know, like if I would need one of these. Like if I would get one of these, I would probably get like the deluxe reverb one, or maybe a twin.
Yeah.
Not this one. Yeah. I think, yeah. It's probably one of those amps where you need to go to the store first. You're going to try it, and then you might be like, man, I just need to get one of these. And then the price doesn't matter anymore because it's practical, but you still get like that amp.
Yeah.
You get it, like,
what do you think about the people? What do you think about the people who are saying that for the same price you could actually get the real tube thing, especially if you went used?
Sure, you probably could, but you couldn't do the things with those that you can do with this one. With this one, like if you're a gigging musician, you can have like you can use the speakers on the amp as your monitor. Like you can place it, like angle it towards your ears, place it somewhere like on a box or something like that, and use that for monitoring. But you can also send an XLR to the front of house, and like you get the best of both worlds, basically. Types of things that you cannot do with the old amp. I would guess this is a bit more worry-free as well. Like if it's Fender, so it's probably well built. Like no need to worry about tubes or anything like that when you're gigging. And those are like really annoying. Those are something that you would actually worry about, like if you're traveling a lot and you're loading up and unloading the gear, and the tube sockets can break, the tubes themselves can break. If you live in a country like Finland, where it's cold like 70% of the year, like when you unload something from a van or something, like everything is super cold, and then you need to wait a little bit before it warms up before you can actually like fire up them, and otherwise you're like in danger of breaking the tubes because of the temperature changes and stuff like that. This is just so much more worry-free compared to that one. In many senses, definitely. At least. But
yeah, I mean, you certainly don't have to worry about tubes breaking, that's for sure. I do wonder what it would be like if one of these amps were to break. I mean, I guess a local tech couldn't fix it in the same way that they could fix a tube amp, but these amps, they shouldn't be breaking, and I guess, Fender has a decent warranty scheme, so you would be able to get it swapped out.
Yeah, most likely. This looks so good.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I really wish that, local dealers close to me have started to open up again, so I can go back to music stores now, but I don't know of any who have, the complete Tonemaster range. I would really like to go and check the three out next to each other and experience the differences, and hopefully also against one or two of the original tube amps.
Yeah, true. I need to see, there is a local Fender dealer here. I just, last time I was there, I was just shopping for basses, so I completely forgot to check the amps. But this got me intrigued, there's also a thing, compared to a modeling unit, like a Quad Cortex or Helix or anything like that, you get the physical amp, you get the looks and the vibe compared to those. And if you just use one sound anyway, this would be awesome.
I would be interested also to take a pedal board there and do the pedal test, because as you've said, if they don't take pedals well, then that's going to be a bit of an issue. But generally for me, Fender amps are very good pedal platforms, but because this is a new thing, a digital thing, it might not. You know what? The local Fender dealer to me has both of the others in stock. I might have to get on the road and check those out. They have the deluxe reverb, and they have the twin as well. Interesting.
If you end up doing that, let us know. I'm really interested to hear.
Yeah, I will.
How they feel. But yeah, really, really cool release. Obviously, in Fender's own video, it sounded absolutely amazing. But then again, it's Fender's own video. Looking forward to seeing some more independent reviews, because as I've mentioned, a few of those have been a bit mixed, I'm gonna say. But yeah, moving on to the next thing, which is obviously we gotta talk about John Mayer, because why wouldn't we?
Last week I think we didn't, and
that's true. We're contractually obligated to have at least 5 minutes of John Mayer content per episode, but we can spread those out over the different episodes if we want to.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, John Mayer basically is saying that he doesn't really consider himself as a blues player, and basically there are a bunch of quotes on musicradar.com from an article. They're actually quoting Guitar World's cover feature of John Mayer, and he talks about his approach to soloing and how he would like to just let himself go and just do whatever he wants to, but then his ears and producer ears, sort of speak, tell him to shut up and just play the notes that he needs to have in the song. And it was interesting because I feel I've seen and heard clips of John Mayer going absolutely crazy, but what I actually like about his playing the most is that he shows incredible amount of restraint.
Yeah.
And this is pretty much what he's talking about in this article. So that's really that was an interesting thing to read about.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about the importance of knowing when not to play, which is for me even important than knowing when to play, especially for me because I'm not very good at playing solos. So knowing when not to play is the most important thing. But he's talking also about writing solos that fit the piece of music, and writing a solo that contributes to the song as a whole and isn't just an excuse for him to show off. And I mean, of course, when you're playing live, you can do that and people love it, and he's an amazing player. He can do that, but he feels like he has limitations. I really think it's good to read an article with a player admitting to that kind of thing. It's not a weakness at all, but he's just saying that he has his limitations. And I would just contrast that, for example, with an article I read recently about a certain Mr. Malmsteen, who had a very different attitude about playing solos and how many notes you should play.
Yeah. They're kind of a very opposite side of the spectrum, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost as much as you could be, basically. But then again, with Malmsteen, I've never felt it's been about the song as much as about like people expect him to do that. And I guess you kind of gotta give the people what they want, maybe. Because, yeah, people expect him to do that. With John Mayer, not sure, maybe not. In the same sense, at least.
That's a really good question. What do people expect from John Mayer these days?
Yeah.
When I first heard of him, it was when his, I guess, earliest albums were coming out, and the most famous song back then was Your Body is a Wonderland. And he's evolved and changed so much since then. I'm wondering how he pleases all of his fans when he plays a show.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say even a casual fan, like if you're a fan of more of his like pop stuff, when you see him live, for example, I think like a regular fan can also appreciate the occasional like guitar craziness, like because it's such an apparent like skill thing. Like people even if they don't understand, oh, he's playing a Mixolydian and kind of really highlighting that sharp 5 chord in the bridge or anything like that, like they don't care about that. But like, I think a casual fan can appreciate like occasional shred as well. I'm guessing he's doing it a little bit live, but haven't seen him live actually, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we need to get a John Mayer fan on to tell us a bit more about that.
That's true.
I know a
Guillaume?
few. Yeah, that was the first name that popped into my head.
We're going to do a dedicated John Mayer episode, get Guillaume on.
Yeah, we could definitely get him on.
I actually should write that down before I forget again, so... yeah, you do the talking while I'll type this.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the rest of the article, what Mayer is also talking about is the ear being boss, and I like that very much as well. It's all about him having a producer's hat on and listening to the music he's making and not just carrying on with the solo. I find that a very refreshing way to look at playing lead guitar. And I think he's also talking about, you know, like I said, the importance of the song and the importance of melody as well. I've been thinking about it quite a lot recently, that most of my personal favorite guitar solos are ones that I can hum back. They're melodic ones, and they also often show quite a lot of restraint. You know, I don't know if you have a few favorite solos off the top of your head that you would list, but for me, it's always going to be one where I can picture it again in my head, and it's not just a face-melting flurry of notes. I can imagine it, I can even hum it, or even sing it, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, even, now that you said, like, I started thinking of some of my favorite solos. Some of them do have, like, shreddy parts, but then there's, like, even, like, in, like, a metal genre, there are some guitar players who can, like, combine that with crazy technique. Like, one of the first few solos thought of were, first of all, there's a Dream Theater song, what's it called? Oh, come on, I'm forgetting it right now. It's on the Scenes from My Memory album. Spirit Carries On. There's like a big outro solo. John Petrucci, different John, plays. And yeah, it's like, it's very, very melodic. There's a little bit of shreddiness going on at the end, but it's beautiful. Then the other solo I thought of, which is way more technically difficult, but still, like, you could almost sing it, is the Marty Friedman solo on, like, Tornado of Souls by Megadeth. Like, that's very melodic, even though it's, like, very shreddy. But he's a tiny minority, I feel, who can combine those two elements. Like,
yeah,
there's so much feeling, and, like, the stuff he does with his bends and vibrato, like kind of connects that solo emotionally to everything else that's happening in that song. And I think, I would say John Mayer is really good in that. Like, he restrains himself, depending on the song he's doing, to, like, playing style that really kind of uplifts the song. Like, it's not like he puts a solo just to have a solo. It's, like, definitely, like, part of song and the kind of arc it's doing. And I can really appreciate that, even though he could shred as much as he would love to. Or like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Future episode idea, our top guitar solos. Write that down.
Definitely.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. And I don't think there's going to be a
start
John
creating
Mayer
our
one in
own
my
list. Yeah, we can start creating our own lists now. We could even maybe go as deep that we would actually listen to those solos, because there might be some solos I haven't heard, and if we get demonetized for that episode, I don't care. That should be a fun one. But yeah, sorry, I took a sip of water. Moving on to another guitar, a hero. Joe Bonamassa says, has listed his top 10 guitar players that blew his mind. Again, coming from the Musicradar, and officially the title is Joe Bonamassa, the 10 guitarists that blew my mind. And there's a fun little thing going on with the top 3 because... Okay, actually, let's not spoil that just yet. Let's start with the first one. And number 1 is B.B. King. Not a big surprise, knowing the history between the two.
Yep.
So, if you don't know, Joe Bonamassa was 13 maybe? I'm gonna say 13. Somehow he ended up playing with B.B. King, and I think B.B. King kind of took him under his belt at some point. He would actually have Joe Bonamassa play with him a lot. Am I remember this story correctly?
I think you're right. Yeah, I'm not hugely into the Bonamassa history, but I do remember that when he was really, really young, he ended up on stage with B.B. King. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad way to start your journey and start learning, the intricacies of mastering one note, which is, of course, something that B.B. King did very, very well indeed. One of the best.
Absolutely.
He was the king of that, you might say.
Yeah.
That was a really lazy joke. I apologize to all viewers.
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of King jokes for you to make over the next 2 minutes, because number 2 is Albert King. So I gotta say, I'm way less familiar with Albert King's repertoire than B.B. King's.
Yeah, me too. And I think that Bonamassa has kind of listed them in that sort of a way as well. I mean, the one King that everybody thinks about is B.B., but Albert King was also an incredibly skilled musician. Listen to some of his stuff, and you can, I don't know, I think Bonamassa says it in the article as well, but he's one where he has a totally unique style where you can basically always tell that it's him playing the guitar, which is quite rare. When you hear a piece of music and you go, that's that person. You don't often get to say that, and that's something that I think Albert King has.
Yeah. In the photo here in the article, he's actually playing a flying V, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, he did a lot of V playing, Albert King, so he did things his own way. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Number 3 is Freddie King. I gotta say, I'm even less familiar with his repertoire than Albert King. I think I've heard Albert King countless of, many, many times. Freddie King, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with him either, but another one in a similar kind of mold, I guess. And when you listen to Bonamassa's playing, the playing from these 3 Kings really sort of has influenced him over his decades of doing it as well. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, three good choices, of course, but 3 not surprising choices when you consider that this is Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah, definitely. I love this quote. Freddie was the scorpion. He would tear your face off with treble and play with bad intentions, Him, B.B. and Albert were the original masters. They don't call them the 3 Kings for nothing. I see. I see what he did
there you go.
Yeah. he also mentions that, but as a singer, Freddie was definitely the hardest out of the three to copy. Interesting. I kind of will check these. Like, I think I've listened to some of the Albert King stuff. Freddie King, I kind of want to check him out. Number 4, Eric Clapton. Not a huge surprise. Yeah.
No. Another one in that Bonamassa style, you know.
True.
Eric Clapton is old slow hand, as they call him. Another one of the blues mastery. A great player.
Yep, definitely. And number 5, Jeff Beck. This is actually a bit more like less apparent choice, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the way that Bonamassa plays, maybe you're right. Although, you know, you'll see Jeff Beck in every one of the top 10 lists of the best guitar players because he's sensational. But yeah, he's a little bit further away from Bonamassa than the others in the list so far. But Jeff Beck is just amazing. An amazing player.
Yeah, like his stuff I've actually like watched on YouTube, like bunch of shows where it's like him, then the bassist Tal Winkefeld. How do you pronounce the name?
Yeah.
Like that, then there's the drum, like super well-known drummer, amazing drummer, whose name I'm also forgetting. Like, there's a quartet basically playing, and that stuff is pretty damn good. Or was it just 3 of them? Like, some of the live shows are absolutely amazing. I love Jeff Beck, even though I'm not familiar with all of his, like, repertoire. But, like, he's good.
He's good. That's the perfect conclusion to Jeff Beck.
Wow, that was a bad, like, yeah, Jeff Beck, 2 thumbs up. Vlad rates. Number 6, Roy Cooler. Again, not that familiar with his playing. And actually, like, even in the article, player. There's like, there's like 3 sentences describing him. So, what a weird article, by the way, because it's just few words about some of the guitar players.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I wonder, like, you know, how they came up with it and how they came to Bonamassa and said, could you say, you know, 1 sentence about each of these 10 guys that you like? But Ry Kuda is a very, very skilled player, and in particular, he's a very, very good slide guitar player. I'm more familiar with him because when he was still a teenager, back in the mid-60s, he played on the first record by Captain Beefheart, who is one of my favorite artists ever. And he played all the slide guitar on that. Safe as Milk is the album, and you can hear it right from the very first second of the record on the song Sure Enough and Yes I Do. He's a wonderful player. I think he was 19 years old when he did that, and he kind of helped produce the record, and he kind of acted as a bit of a musical director because Captain Beefheart himself didn't physically play any of the instruments except for the harmonica, and ever since then he's been a tower of slide guitar, and he does a lot of other stuff as well. But for me, those early Beefheart moments are, highlights in my musical collection still.
Interesting. Again, something I probably need to check out. Number 7, Eric Johnson. And I definitely hear Eric Johnson in Bonamassa's playing. Like all of those fast pentatonic runs, they both do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No surprises there.
No. And Eric Johnson is like, I don't know, if somebody would list like top 10 guitar players ever, he would probably be on that list. On most of those lists, I should say. Yep.
He wouldn't be on my list.
Wouldn't?
Probably. No, it wouldn't. I don't think any of the players on this list would be on my list yet. Because it's so personal, you know, and I think we all like guitar definitely. For different reasons.
Yeah, I get that. Number 8 is Rory Gallagher. Interesting.
Yeah, a great many famous Strat players on this Bonamassa list, which is interesting because, you know, Bonamassa himself is mostly known for playing old Les Pauls now.
Yep. True. Rory Gallagher was an incredible
Strat player, an incredible blues musician, and you can see his famous Strat there in the picture for anyone not watching. It's a super relict guitar, and it's been often copied since by other companies who make relict instruments, and none of them look anywhere near as cool as the original. But I've no idea how he managed to get the guitar into that condition. He must have stripped some of the paint off it, right?
Who knows? I've heard, like, I think Slash has mentioned that his sweat is such type that it just wears the guitars out. Like, it just destroys the paint on any guitar.
I've actually heard that Jason Newsted, the bassist in Metallica for many years, he had, I don't know if he sweated very much compared to normal people, or if he had a kind of almost acidic quality to his sweat, but they used to have to sort of sweat-proof the basses to stop them just kind of getting destroyed from that.
Yeah,
so maybe
I think
I've
just heard the same.
Yeah, the chemical consistencies of some of our sweat.
Yeah, I think Slash is the same. Like, his guitars just wear out. Also, he's not treating them that kindly, I'd say.
No, I suppose he's not the case queen type person.
Exactly. Number 9 is Sonny Landreth. I wonder if I've actually heard Sonny play. I've probably have, but...
Yeah, he's another slide master and another Strat player, so a very interesting list from Bonamassa now at this point. Sonny Landreth is also, I would say, a bit of a left field choice in comparison to some of the others. You know, a lot of the other names on the list are kind of household names, but I don't think many people who are not guitar players will know Sonny Landreth. Yeah,
me included. Like, I'm familiar with the name, but not his playing. And the last one is Chris Whitley. I have absolutely no idea who this is. I have to be honest.
Yeah, I've never heard of Chris Whitley either. I'm familiar with the name, but have never heard the records. And yeah, it's clear that Joe Bonamassa played some shows with him, and Chris died, unfortunately, way before his time, and left a legacy of some records. And yeah, I think we should probably all check them out after listening to this, because... You know, if he's made Joe Bonamassa's top 10 list, he must be something special indeed. So, overall, a pretty cool list, I have to say, from Bonamassa. You know, you start with the Three Kings, you have some of the titans of the scene, the Jeff Becks, the Eric Johnsons, and then you move down to some of these slightly left field choices, as I said. I like that a lot from him. I like that Joe Bonamassa is such a student of the guitar and music and instruments as well. He knows his stuff, and...
Yeah,
I respect him a lot for that. I don't really listen to his music much at all, if ever, but I respect the guy a lot. And his taste in guitars is interesting. Mostly very good. And God knows where he gets his money from, but what a collection. Yeah. Actually, I also wanted to bring this up, but do you feel that maybe 5 or 10 years ago, Joe Bonamassa was the main thing? He was the guitarist numero uno in forums, on internet discussions, and in magazines and stuff. I feel like he's been overtaken now by our previous person who we mentioned, John Mayer. I feel like John Mayer is now in that position of being the number one guitar player that we all sort of drool over. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Joe Bonamassa, like, when like a bigger public started to notice him, it was like, oh, cool, like... Both, like, he's using all of these vintage amps and guitars and stuff like that, and like he's really like adding like almost like a shred type element to blues playing and stuff like that. Like, he's, as a player, he's incredible, obviously, so that's all well deserved. But also, like, maybe at some point when people started to realize like he's kind of slightly similar to Yngwie when it comes to like collecting guitars and just having crazy amount of stuff, and like it's not relatable anymore at some point. When you have like that much gear and the skill level, and also like I feel there's very few things that are relatable with him nowadays. And like I guess like also like when it comes to records, I don't know if he's doing like stuff that much differently. I haven't listened. Maybe his albums are completely different now. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely would say like John Mayer is taking over. Or has taken over.
Yeah, he has taken over already, yeah.
But I was also say like John Mayer is like one level up when it comes like as how big of an artist he is. Maybe like 2 levels.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely crossed over into the pop realm as well.
Yeah.
You know, he has records that chart, I think, much higher in the mainstream charts. He's won Grammy Awards, if I'm right. And yeah, he's younger, sexier. What a great guy.
Yeah, exactly. And on that note, let's do another list because the lists are fun. We're going to dive into Musicradar's top 10 best or the best 10 new guitar amps in the world right now, as voted by you. Actually, this article is from December 27th, 2020. So last year's best amps. This year hasn't ended yet, so it's not like you could vote the best amps of this year yet. Anyway, this is just for fun. And as the YouTube viewers can see, there's a Rev as number 1 right away. And again, this is unlike the other lists we've done, which like the criteria seem to be very weird at some of those. Like on some of those, these are actually voted by people. So
yeah, the readers of the website and the magazines. But this is still a weird list, as we're going to find out as we go down it. I find it very unusual. Well, you know, when you could have voted for any amp in the world and you went for some of the choices on this list, it's interesting. Let's kick in with number 1, which is the Rev G20, as you said.
There's a there's a huge recency bias with this one, I would say. Because that amp came out in 2020.
Yeah. It's funny as well. I mean, I love Rev. I love their pedals. I love their amps. I might get one of their amps, probably the D20 over the G20, but I still don't know anybody out there in the wild who's not connected to YouTube who owns a Rev amp. You know? And again, this is nothing against Rev at all, but it's like, how can a Rev have been voted into number 1 in a poll when there are companies like Fender building amps? You know, I don't get it. I mean, it's, again, further proof that Rev is building amazing amps, but I just don't get how they have that level of saturation that everyone knows about them.
I think I would say they've used YouTube really well to promote themselves.
Absolutely they have.
And that has kind of led to, like, because people get a lot of their, like, gear news, so to speak, and just, like, people learn about the new gear through YouTube. I think way more than anything else nowadays. And they have a very strong presence there. They're huge in metal community, especially.
Yeah.
And probably like if you are following any gear YouTubers, like guitar gear YouTubers, some of them definitely have a Rev amp, like I do. Though, even though I paid my own money to get that one. But yeah, it's maybe that's the online presence. Like, I'm gonna say with G20, it's also probably like the thought of like the idea of that amp is such appealing to a lot of players that they're just going to vote that amp. Not even that.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I don't think every voter has that. Like everyone who voted for G20 have the amp, but just the idea that you can get like those famous rev tones in like a lunchbox amp and just run an XLR into your audio interface. That has to be very appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it has so many of those things that modern players would want. And I'm guessing that next year or at the end of this year, when the same poll happens again, we might see some of the Fender Tonemaster amps appearing in it because they're doing a similar kind of thing. They're bringing Fender into the 21st century and making them, you know, giving them that versatility, the usability and the connectivity that Rev has brought to smaller lunchbox metal amps. Yeah, so congratulations to Rev for being top of the list. What a result. I mean, it's a huge surprise for me to see that.
Yeah, like when I started thinking about the list, like I would thought like if it had been Rev, I would probably have said D20 instead, because this is a like G20 is versatile, but there's a very strong metal focus with this amp.
Yeah, and also if you were saying Rev, would you not have said the Generator? Because that is a better amp than the D20 and the G20. I mean, except in the cost and the weight stakes, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like the price of those and the size of those kind of affects the what's the word, like desirability. In a sense?
Yeah. Like, I mean, when an amp costs 3,000 instead of 1,000, then I think 99% of players are straight away out.
Yeah, that's like you kind of don't want to even dream about it. Like if somebody would ask like what's the best amp, they're not going to think about like that $3,000 amp that they have never tried, because it's very difficult to try out the Rev anyway. So yeah, interesting choice. I can see why that happened, but it's still interesting. And
just before we get to number two, I would also say that I imagine that Musicradar, they make like a short list when they ask people to vote for these amps. So it's not just like an empty field where they say, what's your favorite amp of 2020? They would say, what's your favorite amp? And there'd be like maybe 20 listed that were released that year. And there would be like an other box at the bottom. And probably the Rev G20 was one of the choices and the Generator wasn't. And that's why the G20 was featured there. Just a guess.
Yeah. Number 2, Positive Grid Spark 40. And okay, I gotta say, this is even a weirder like result, because what I know about the Spark is like it launched sometime last year, so 2020, and they had huge issues delivering those amps into people's hands, to the point where like I remember seeing like angry posts and videos and stuff like that the company just couldn't get them to people, even though like there was like a pre-order list and stuff like that, and people waited for months and months before they got those.
Yeah, there was a massive crowdfunding campaign and people had paid months in advance and they weren't getting their amps. But at the same time, we were seeing amplifiers appearing with, YouTube channels, people who had been sent the amps by Positive Grid to test them out, but hadn't even bought the amps themselves. So it gave many people a negative opinion on this amp and this company. I think it was perhaps not the best way to run your amplifier campaign. Yeah.
So my guess with this vote is the fact, and actually the article says that it was just 31 votes short of sharing the top spot as the best amp. Yeah, my initial thought is that, as with the Rev G20, the idea of this amp is very appealing, and not a lot of the voters actually had this available.
That's what I was going to say, exactly what you said about the G20. The concept and the idea behind the Spark amps is amazing. I mean, I would love to have an amp that I can jam with in that way, and that, has all these different sounds built in and all these different options to play on my own. And just to have drums and bass intelligently appear with me and just create songs on the fly. Just the idea of having that, if it works, is amazing. But sadly, the reality and the rollout of the amp wasn't on the same level. But number 2 in that list, again, for me, a huge surprise. Huge.
Yeah, definitely. And number 3...
This amp as well, can you even get the Spark in real stores? Do any dealers actually sell that amp? I don't think so. I think it's an online only, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. Number 3 is also very weird. Fender Mustang LT25. Like a little practice amp.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for what it is, but kind of mystified as to why this got number 3 on the list.
Who voted for this? Show me the list of names.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a list of 10 or 20 amps, and you were to ask people what's the best amp in the world, I just can't imagine anyone clicking that and saying that the Fender Mustang LT25 is the best amp in the world. Even if you own it, surely you aspire to get something better later. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe this list was like manufactured from like the amps released that year. I don't think they mentioned that in the criteria. Or did they? No, they don't. Just best guitar amplifiers in the world right now.
Yeah, which I assume is only going to be new amps, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's
why that Fender over all the other Fenders? Well, it would be really interesting to find out how they they got that result.
Good. Yeah, it's probably a good practice amp, but what?
Oh, the Fender Mustangs are great. I mean, I've played them, and the newer versions are really, really good, especially for clean stuff. But number 3 on the list, I don't know.
And then number 4 is all of a sudden Fender 64 custom Princeton Reverb.
Yeah,
and this is the tube version of the amp.
Yeah. This is the full-on, full-fat thing. A hand-wired 64 reissue. That's the kind of thing that I imagine everyone who buys the Mustang wants to aspire to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, an amazing amplifier. I love the Princeton sound. My colleague and friend Thomas Blug has an old Princeton that is in the Blug Guitar Studio, and that amp just sounds amazing. With a bit of reverb through his 61 Strat, and obviously his fingers, they help a bit, but an amazing sounding amplifier. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
But again, the Fender Princeton is that, I don't know. What about the Twin, the Deluxe Reverb, and other more well-known, well-used Fender amps? Why are they not on the list?
Yeah, I'm starting to see
maybe they are
all
further
of
down.
These. Yeah. All of these seem to be amps released that year.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this wouldn't make any sense. I'm going to say. Because number 5 is Orange Terror Stamp. So the... What?
Surely that was released before 2020.
No. It was
really?
2020. Yeah.
No way.
I actually still have my Terror Stamp that I haven't been able to plug it in because I don't have a power supply for it. And I haven't been able to find a power supply for it. Let me get it
really?
Just a second.
Can it not take a normal pedal power supply? DC 15 volts, 2 amps.
Yeah. That's the issue with this one.
Okay. Interesting. I've just checked, and that came out at NAMM 2020. So it makes.
Yeah, there's a video on my
list.
channel where we would try this out. I'd love to be able to plug this in, but I haven't been super mega active trying to find a power supply for it. I actually thought I found a power supply that could run this, but then the input was kind of reverse of what this is. So I'm yet to find a power supply that can actually run this, which sucks.
Can't you just call your friends at Orange and get them to send you a power supply?
We've tried. I think I need to do that again. I would love to be able to run it. How does this work? Like this? Yeah, because I bet this thing sounds killer. I've had because this is based on the is it called Mini Terra or something like that? Like the smallest one. Actually, the video
Tiny Terra
comparison a bit. Yeah, Tiny Terra. That and the Joyo Meteor, which also goes for very similar sound. That comparison video on a really old video. It's top 3 or 4 most popular videos on my channel. So people are interested in these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, number 5. I don't know. Maybe. It's a fun.
It's another interesting choice for me. As is number 6.
Number 6. Yeah. Number 6 is the Harley Benton Mighty 15, which is just a simple single channel amp, 15 watts, few EL84s, 2 AX7s in the preamp. Sure, why not? That's going to be my reply to all of these. Sure, why not? I've kind of given up on this like Musicradar lists now. They're like entertaining, but what?
Yeah, but don't forget, they didn't make this list. The people who read Musicradar and all the future publishing magazines made this list. I'm amazed to see Harley Benton on a top 10 amplifiers list.
Yeah.
And I'm also a little bit frightened for other brands who make amplifiers, because once Harley Benton starts making inroads into the amp world, for the prices that they can bring out, a full tube amp like this one is, £211. So, $300, 300 euros tops. That's incredible value for money. And if it is good, again, I've not played this one, then other brands can start to get a little bit worried about things. But yeah, I mean, who's really voting for this as the best amp in the world?
Number 6 on the list.
I mean,
oh, come on. Yeah.
No, I'm not even trying to be stupid or stirring up anything.
No.
It just seems like, in what context would you vote for this amplifier as being the best in the world? If anyone has this amp, or if anyone watching this voted that, write it in the comments. It would be really interesting, I think, for us to find out your decisions and why you chose to do that. And I don't mean that, in a condescending way or anything. It would be genuinely interesting for us, and we could possibly even discuss that next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, my guess is that it's just amps released in 2020. I don't know if this was actually released in 2020. Feels like it's an older product, but I might be wrong.
I've seen a couple of fairly recent videos of it. Yeah, I mean, time has been so different since March last year, since the whole COVID thing happened. We've kind of lived in a bit of a Groundhog Day sort of a situation, and I've really lost track of what came out this year, what was last year. Yeah, bizarre times, but
it's there. Number 6. Number 7 is the Victory V4 Duchess head. What? There's a typo
Victory
in
V4
this
the
article.
Duchess head.
But that's not a head, that's the preamp. What?
Yeah, I think they've just got the wrong...
Can you check this video over here? But what? They're definitely playing the pedal preamp.
Yeah, they've mixed it up a little bit there, because they're writing about the Duchess head, but actually the text is about the pedal preamp and power amp version, so the floor amp version.
I must say this tells all we need to know about like the amount of like effort they put into this list. Like nobody even proofread this.
It doesn't look like it. Unless we're getting it wrong, but I don't think we're getting it wrong. It looks like that's not what we're seeing.
That's a V4 preamp, definitely.
Can you click the link in the article?
Yeah.
Where's it going to take us to? Rabia Massad.
It's just called Duchess. Just shows all the videos.
Okay.
On this thing.
Well, anyway, I mean, the Duchess is one of Victory's most well-known amps. It's going to give amazing clean tones, and I think a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I've not played this one. I've not played any of the pedal-based Victory amps, so I'm unfamiliar with them, but they have a great reputation. Again, like Rev, they have a super strong YouTube presence. Online is where they've built their brand exclusively, pretty much.
Have you played the Victory heads?
Yes.
Like any of them? Yep.
Which one was it? It was quite some time ago. The one I'd really like to try and haven't is the Kraken, the Rabia one.
Ooh.
What was the one that I played? I can't remember.
That's just Sheriff.
I think it was a Sheriff.
So like a Marshall-ish thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
I liked
one
it,
I had.
But I thought, I liked it, but I felt like it was quite dark sounding for me. I like a lot of top end, a very bright tone, and it was not really quite my sort of a thing. But they're nice
actually
amplifiers.
I have to agree. Yeah, I have to agree. Like it was darker than I would have expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, Victory V4 Duchess preamp, not the head, as the article says. Number 8, Cornell Explorer 10 head. Okay? I am very unfamiliar with Cornell amps.
Yeah, Cornell is another, a small builder, especially in comparison to all the others on the list. And it's also not a cheap builder, These are expensive amplifiers. And I'm not familiar with the Explorer 10 head. It's probably a beautiful sounding amp, but what's it doing in this top 10? I wonder how many people own this amp who took part in the vote. I also wonder, when Cornell saw that they were up for the vote, they put it out on their social media and said to everybody, please vote for our amplifier right now so we can get in the top 10. And here they are. Yep. And this is an amp that I'd really like to try. I've heard a lot of good stuff about Cornell. I've never seen one in person. For some reason, I've never visited them on an amp show or anything like that. And I should probably do that next time I get the opportunity.
Yeah.
This one apparently plays Vox off against Fender Tweed vibes and is very versatile. So all sounds good to me.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Number 9 is using getting a Black Spirit 200 floor amp version. And something that I'm also noticing, is Musicradar like a British thing? Because all of the videos seems to be like very British. Like British YouTubers, Rabia, there was some others as well. Guitarist magazine,
Musicradar is a UK one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Musicradar was originally just the online portal for future publishing in the UK, which was Total Guitar Magazine, Guitarist Magazine, and Guitar Techniques Magazine. And they have other kind of styles of music too, like they had Music Tech, for example, for production, that kind of thing, and other mags as well. But in the last few years, they were kind of bought out and kind of merged together with magazines like Guitar World in America. So it's all kind of under one banner now, the future stuff. But I think most of the people working on the Musicradar website are still UK based.
Yeah. So checking the next one is the Houston Getnet Black Spirit 200 floor amp, and they're linking to Rabia's head demo. I mean, technically they're almost the same product, but
yeah,
still.
It's basically the same amp. Yeah, I mean, the floor amp is a great amp.
Yeah.
It has the same great things about it as the Black Spirit 200 head and combo, and it has the same, negative points as they have as well. This is one which I'm not surprised to see on the top 10 list at all because, I did great marketing campaigns for the amp. No, but it's also in the same vein as the Fender Mustang. It's an incredibly versatile amplifier. It's loud enough to gig with. It does pretty much everything. It's a really good amp.
Yeah.
For me personally, I didn't like the floor as much as I liked the head and the combo, but that was just a personal taste thing. It even had a couple of extra features that the combo and the head didn't have, but I just never got on with it in the same way.
Yeah, I actually really like the head. It just sounded good. It was super practical. I managed to do like a big Christmas production show with it, and the fact that I pretty much could get all of the sounds I wanted just from the amp was really cool. Just had like a nice MIDI controller with it, and I was good to go.
Didn't you do a video where you had like a pedal board and you tried to showcase, the versatility of the pedal board versus the versatility of just the amplifier? Was that you? I think it was you.
Yeah, but that was with Grandmaster Deluxe 40.
Ah, okay. Just getting the H&K
not the Black
mixed
Spirit
up,
one. I think when we did that one, I don't think the Black Spirit was out yet. I'm going to say.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, the Black Spirit is, even more versatile than the Grandmeister as well.
Yeah.
I still use the head on basically all my YouTube videos. It's a great amp, and it has the same versatility and connectivity, XLRs, the red box built in that amps like the Rev have. So it's a really, really cool amp. And the big advantage of the floor, of course, is that you've got a MIDI controller built into it, so you don't need to buy a controller to take advantage of saving presets or anything like that. Solid choice.
Solid choice. And number 10 is Victory VC35, the copper, which I think that's Victory's take on like the Vox sound, I think. British EL84 chime.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe that Danish Pete from Andertons had a hand in helping to design the copper.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah. So
I gotta say, like, I love the idea of a Vox style amp in a head.
Yeah.
I really, really like that. And especially if you like pair it with like cab simulation, you can run it as an like Vox amp into like a Vox cabinet type of thing. Or you could experiment and run it into like a 4x12 Mesa cab and see what you can do with that. That's really cool. I like the idea of this amp a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? This is definitely a Victory amp that I would like to try out as well. Again, I've never seen one in person. Same. And yeah, congratulations to Victory for getting 2 amplifiers into the top 10, I believe. Yeah, them and Fender, they were the brands who managed to do that. So that's pretty good on their part.
That's true.
But overall, if you analyze the list after looking at this 10, okay, if we imagine that they were all released in 2020, and if that was, you know, a requirement for this list, then yeah, but otherwise, it's a very interesting list.
Yeah, the thing is, like, they're definitely going for some clickbait with the 10 best guitar amps in the world right now. Yeah, maybe not. Like, I don't know, maybe we need to do our top 10 lists. Like the amp, like our most desirable amps or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the other thing could be is just that we're really out of touch with what the average guitar player wants because, you know, you're also someone who lives in this online world. You're a professional, I don't know, what's the word? YouTube guy or something like this, you know. And
online personality.
You come from totally different perspectives from, you know, the average amateur hobby guitarist or whatever. And for me as well, working in the amplifier industry for the past 10 years or whatever, it gives you a totally different mindset about approaching amplifiers and what you think is best, you know. And often I find that me personally and other people who work in the amp industry, we're actually really closed off from what some of the public think, which is a bad thing because obviously we should be listening to what people like. And I should probably print off this list and take it into Blue Guitar next week and say, hey guys, Iridium wasn't on the list, but guess what was number 1? And, you know, we can then start thinking about what people who read Musicradar actually like. It's a thing that a lot of companies in every industry, but in particular, I think the music industry don't take into account that much. It's like, you know, we have engineers, we have these amazing creative minds who are designing amazing products, but often I felt that things are getting designed for us. And it's kind of at the last minute where we think, hang on a sec, would the guys out there in the real world actually like this? And then you're like, well, whatever, we've got this product now. Marketing team, work out how to market it to the public, which is kind of a backwards way of doing it, but that sometimes can happen, so...
Yeah, that's unfortunately
I don't know where I'm going with this point really, but we should make our own top 10 lists. That's the ultimate conclusion from this. And so should everybody else watching the show, by the way.
I'm actually going to call this list our top 10 dream amps. So like
in the world right now, ever.
Yeah. In the world. Right.
I think I kind of know what my number 1 sort of dream amp to own is, but it's not a realistic amplifier.
I'm going to say I have 1 or 2 on the list right away. Like, yeah. I think that should be a fun list where we'll just throw out all of the practical stuff, like whether the amp is big, whether it needs a lot of service to maintain, all those kind of things. Yeah. Yeah, we might start including these into like as a segment in the show as well. Maybe that's the way, like not maybe like a dedicated episode, but like a segment. I don't know. Why are we playing the show while recording the show.
On the show, it's kind of pointless, isn't it? But yeah,
kind of. We could do this offline, but it is what it is, or something like that. I don't know where I'm going with this one either. Yeah, a lot of fun things we covered. Thank you, Rich, again for joining. And as always, links below in the description to all the articles we mentioned here, stuff like that. If you want to support what we do, there's a songwriting course, for example, you can get there's affiliate links available to the Thomann store, stuff like that. Maybe one day we'll have CatPick Fridays merch, but today unfortunately isn't that day yet, at least. So we'll keep on waiting or something like that. Again, absolutely no idea where I'm going with this. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And as our signature greeting goes, bye podcast.
Bye podcast.